thousands of United Auto workers walked out of Ford's Kentucky truck plant in Louisville last week. Now the executive chair of Ford is asking the UAW to halt these strikes and come to an agreement.
We can stop this now.
After thousands of workers walked out of Ford plants throughout the country, Bill Ford called for an end to what he says are acrimonious talks. But Executive Director of the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, Jason Bailey, says an agreement resulting in more money for workers can benefit the local economy. And Bailey says the UAW is picking up momentum.
If you look at public opinion, there seems to be a lot more support for the workers than it is for the companies that have been very profitable in recent years. And I think many people identify with these auto workers. They've also not seen their wages go up, and the workers themselves seem to be unified and excited and ready to be out on the picket line.
In Versailles, Jack Kane Ford's general sales manager David Griffith says they agree with Bill Ford's statement and want the strike to be settled quickly, as they fear the strike could trickle down and impact their customers. In a statement to WKYT, Griffith says in part, "Our biggest concerns at this point are the jobs and livelihoods of suppliers and so many others that are connected to and depend on the auto industry." He went on to say, and at this point, parts shortages are becoming a certainty, which can indirectly put consumers at risk.
Certainly, I think a lot of people understand that the workers are holding out for a better deal. They haven't had a good deal in a long time, and there's a lot of ground to be made up.
Julia Sandor, WKYT.